What do you think about when I ask you what does the word vision mean to you? The word vision can mean future, present, or past. So when you think about a vision, we a lot of times will look towards the future. And the long term, what does that mean? But when we also think about the present, that helps us to see where we're at right now. And when we look at the past, that's where we've been. Maya Angelou is credited with saying, you can't know where you're going until you know where you've been. So let's take a look at where we are and where we've been. And then we'll also talk about where we're going. And in regards to this topic. So, hi, I'm Randy Sasker, and I've been asked to be a part of this team from an aspect of, to help with the vision side of this. My role here at ARC has been many different things. I've been a part of it for over 20 years on the education side of it, whether it be a Sunday school teacher or Sunday school officer, back when we used to actually have superintendent and treasurer and all of that. Served on the discipleship team and the education team for quite a few years now, on and off consistory, different terms. My wife and I have both been junior and senior RSOF sponsors, help with VBS and whatnot. So the education side of it is a big deal in our house. We've made it a very important part of our life for many years, and it's been fun to watch the growth. And we see back in the early 2000s here at church, there really wasn't a lot of quick growth. It was very slow growth, kind of stagnant. And we had enough growth where we ended up deciding that we wanted to change our facility and add on a new sanctuary. With that new addition, we didn't spend a lot of time thinking about new education area. Our congregation has grown, and we've outgrown our education space. It was said at the time when we were building the new sanctuary that it was an odd time to be building a new facility when we were having a pastor that was retiring and leaving. And so I've heard some of that same talk now with this expansion. While we have a transition in leadership on the youth side, do we feel like this is a good time to be expanding? And the consistory's been working on this a long time, and we do. And we're going to share more reasons on that. So in 2013, Pioneer Clubs is a term that was introduced to our congregation. That was meant where we now have a more intentional path of discipling our children, whether it be into memorization, but also in inviting more new friends to come with them. So with that, we've seen some growth. Those little ones come as they keep getting older also. And so that's grown into our into our senior high program. So in a couple of years, we noticed things where those kids that aren't necessarily members of our congregation keep coming back because they find out that we got some pretty friendly faces here. We're not so scary. In 2018, we added Daryl and LaDonna to the team to begin working with the youth more intentionally on the senior high side. With that, we brought on some changes. We went and eliminated the Sunday evening option, went everything to Wednesday night. The meals were added at Wednesday night for both the little kids and the senior high. And then we've also had that community impact focus where we encourage the members of our youth group to invite their friends to come along too. And they're allowed, if they're coming regularly, to go on mission trips and all of that type of stuff with our group and whatnot. So we see that as a part of our growth, but we also see that we have our own new family members and we have our own new youth group members that are coming, that are here regular attenders. And so this exciting opportunity has presented us with an overcrowded facility. So that's our current reality. We're full. And candidly, we have been for a long time. The leadership at the church here has been discussing this for a long time, for several years, of what to do and what options do we have. How can we use our facility better and whatnot. Our staff is getting tired. Our leadership is getting tired of trying to figure out how to make this work with overcrowding in order to do it in an effective way. So in October of 2023, a committee was organized by the consistory. It consisted of Warren Sambelt, Adam Eitoven, Dave Sambelt, and myself. And we were tasked with a facility feasibility study, meaning basically, how can we use what we have better? And is there an option to use what we have better? And what can we do to make this space work? So we looked at how better to use our current spaces. We interviewed staff. We talked to church members. We even talked to some of the kiddos. We were looking for feedback from every group and looking for different options. We find from some of the students that they shared that they don't even enjoy coming because it's so overcrowded. And on weeks when they've had a rough week, they just would rather not be here than to come. We discussed what other churches are doing. What are they doing for their facility use, for their timing? Do they do different nights? Do they move to a different location? All of those type of things. And ultimately, our goal was to be able to use this facility because, well, committee members were Dutch. We don't really want to spend a lot of money if we don't have to. But we came to the conclusion that in order to facilitate our current need and an opportunity for potential future growth, we needed to do an expansion. So we needed to cast an idea of what that looked like. So we worked out several different drawings. We went through many different areas, which direction we could go. We even looked at off-site ideas out at different locations and all the logistics. With that, we came up with the final drawings that were approved earlier this year. So with that, we know that there may be some minor adjustments made, but the square footage is as much as we can. We've worked with the city and lot lines and zonings and our permit, what we can get, how full we can make this on our current space. And so we've expanded to that full capacity. And you'll see some drawings of that in a little bit, and that'll get explained better for you. But we designed it with enough space to provide education opportunities for every group, including our adults and our senior high and our littles. More area for them to be able to do all of their tasks well and for us to be able to accomplish a better environment for discipleship. We know that in an overcrowded environment, learning is hindered. And so with that, we want to do the best with what the Lord's entrusted us with. So with that, that's our proposal to come forward with, and you'll see the drawings in a little bit, but one other side part to this conversation is in 2024, in the spring, Brooke Manesson came to the consistory with a vision about starting a Christian school in Laverne. And with that, she shared how the Lord had laid it on her heart that that was someplace that she felt she was being called to. And so the consistory gave blessing to use the facility to accommodate the conversation. And so as the board members began to come on board and whatnot, they met here regularly and whatnot. And then fast forward, I joined the board just because of my heart for education and for the youth. And so once I joined, we began the discussion of what does this facility look like? Where do we have our facility needs? We looked at every option that we could think of that would work in town, and ARC was actually the last choice. But when all the other ones fell through, we came back to consistory here at ARC, and they gave the blessing for us to lease space here for the Equipped Christian School. So the Christian school and this expansion are parallel conversations, but they're not, the expansion is not happening because of the Christian school. So we just like to clear up the air. We want to make sure everybody that understands the timelines of how those things work. Having a privilege being on both sides of the conversations, it's exciting to see something happening now that we'll be able to move forward and give our kids some more space to learn. With that, I'd like to close with the story I read a little while ago, but before I do, I want to ask you to think back to my original question. What do you think of when I say the word vision? So this story is about the most significantly spiritual. I'm going to start over. This story is the most spiritually significant man in our nation's history that you've never heard of. His name was Mordecai Ham. He was a tent revival preacher in the early 1900s. In 1934, he was preaching a tent revival in Charlotte, North Carolina. Two 15-year-old boys saw the tent and the commotion of the people, and they heard this bold love of the Father preaching. They just so happened to be walking by and were like, maybe we should check it out. But as they walked up, they saw that there were no seats available. So they walked away, but as they did, an usher, a man whose no one knows whose name it is, ran up to those two 15-year-old boys and grabbed one of them and said, "Hey, you come back here. We'll find seats for you boys." And so he walked them back, asked a couple people to move over, and found those guys and got them seated. That day, they ended up giving their lives to Christ and consecrating themselves to the purposes of God in their generation. One of those boys was a man we now know as Billy Graham. Billy Graham ended up preaching the gospel to more than anyone in the history of the world. Tens of millions of people were caught up into the kingdom of heaven under Billy Graham's teachings. The other boy's name was Grady Wilson. He was the man who ended up helping Billy Graham organize all his crusades. He changed the world. Not Billy Graham, not Grady Wilson, not Mordecai Ham, the usher. He's the one man who saw those two 15-year-old boys walking away from the faith and said, "Not on my watch." You get back here, boys. Our job is not to change the world. Our job is to change somebody's world. So if you're listening to this and you think that you don't have a part to play in this, I would challenge you to rethink that, because that usher changed the world. That usher changed my world by investing into Billy Graham, who invested into my mother, who invested into me. And my hope and prayer is that I'll be able to pass that on also. And I know that every one of us can do that as long as we've been given the breath from our Father. So with that, thank you.
I'm Brad. I'm a member of the facility expansion team, and I want to go over some of the project details. This new facility expansion will add 22,600 square feet of space. We're addressing all the different concerns of each education department, starting with the Little Tykes, the junior high, and the senior high, as well as adult discipleship. So on the south side of the building, or the west side of the building, there will be adult discipleship rooms, and below that we'll have rooms for the junior high, along with turning the current senior high room into the new junior high room. On the south side, there will be new offices, along with more classrooms on the lower level. And on the southeast side is where the new senior high room will be. It'll be the middle level and the top level. And the lower level will add more space for Pioneer Club and for Sunday school for the smaller children. This is another view of different angles of what the facility expansion will look like. Here is on the upstairs of the second level above the senior high room. It'll be classrooms for breakout rooms for Wednesday nights and Sunday mornings. This is the basement view. These will be junior high classrooms that will connect. They'll have their own hallways, so kids will not be interrupting other kids in class. This will be the new multi-purpose room connecting to green pastures. That is all for the preschool to 6th grade area, and then there will also be more classrooms added on the south side. This is all the basement picture. This will be the main level. These will be more classrooms for adult discipleship and new offices on the west and south side. And south of the old fellowship, or south of the fellowship hall, is the senior high youth room.
This spring, after congregation approved the facility expansion, we met as a committee, talked about how we can make this happen with how God can make this happen utilizing us. We started talking about a goal, a dollar amount goal, a date goal. We talked for 20, 30 minutes about a goal of, do we have $1 million after the first few months? Do we have $2 million after the first few months? We prayed about it, and we came up with a goal of $3.5 million by January 1st, 2026. Total project cost is just shy of $7 million, $6.8 million, so 3.5 would be 50% of the project costs, which at 50% of the funds pledged or raised, we can begin getting bids, and at 75% of the funds raised or pledged, we can begin construction. Different avenues we can do this. Shortly you will be getting a pledge card that states the different, breaks down the different households, the number of households, the dollar amounts of giving over 5 years, breaks it down per week, per month, just to try to make this more seem like it's not such a mountain to climb. We know with God, anything is possible. We just ask that you prayerfully consider it. If the Holy Spirit lays it upon your heart, we ask that you answer that call. The different avenues, different ways we can do that, donating grain or livestock. We have talked to the sale barns, the grain elevators about grain drives. So if that's an option for anyone, please talk to us and talk to your local elevator, local sale barn. Different avenues would be required minimum distributions through retirement accounts, stocks and IRAs, transfers of CDs. This list is not an exhaustive list. If there's other options that you may think of, please talk to any one of us, and we can probably make it happen.
My name is Ken Hupp. I am the leader of the prayer team. And shortly after the congregation voted for the facility expansion to move forward, I felt called that because I truly believe this is kingdom work, and that we needed God to be involved with this whole thing. And to do that, we believe that prayer is vital. And so, you know, the old saying is, when people work, people just work. But when people pray, God works. And so tomorrow, which is September 8th, we're going to begin a 40-day of prayer and fasting. And all members will have received a devotional book in their church mailboxes. It's just a very non-threatening way to go through a 40 days of prayer and fasting. But the importance of fasting and prayer is you give up something and spend that time devoted for seeking God and what His role for you is. And even if you're against this facility expansion, or if you're on the fence, you're not quite sure, this is for everyone. And the purpose of this is to bring unity to the body of Christ. And so my goal and my prayer is by the end of the 40 days, you can say, it is well with my soul, because I became closer to God. And then I'd also like to invite everyone to put on their calendar October 7th for a corporate time of prayer. The prayer and fasting of 40 days is more of an individual thing, but on the 7th we'll come together on October 7th as a congregation and pray together. Thank you. God bless.
Hey, this is Don Dinger. Super excited to talk to you about the strategic campaign plan that we have. It's been quite the crew. I'm getting ready and planning for events. The goal of the campaign is to get to every member in various ways during pledge events through various houses. We can go to houses. We'll have meetings after church. The goal will be to, like I said, with every member, we'll come to your house. We're looking for hosts that would invite guests or their circle of friends over. And we'll come in either with these videos or presenters and go through it at your house. And like I said, the goal is to get every member questions asked and get them praying and and see where this is going. An example of future giving out of the Bible is Abraham was in the desert. It was hot and dry and nothing was growing, and he came into this tamarisk tree and planted in Beersheba. And kind of the story of it is the tree is doesn't take much water to grow. It has salt in the needles that takes moisture out of the air and helps the tree. The problem with the tree is it took 100, 200, 300 years to get any size. So Abraham went out there on faith from the Lord, knowing that he was going to provide the shade and help things sustain their life in the desert, based on God's promises and his faith. And so what it does is he wasn't doing it for his family, he was doing it for his future family and his kids, grandkids, and future families. And an example of Proverbs 3, 5 through 6 teaches us the same mindset that Abraham had. It says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek his will in all you do." Again, seek God's will in all you do, and he will show you which path to take. And that's what we're asking, is each person get the information that they can and pray, and everything will go as it should.
Hi, I'm Keaton Arndt, and I would just like to take a few moments of your time to tell you why senior high youth group was such an important part of my life and how it helped me grow in my faith. Starting with just why it's important in my life, it just gave me a new sense of community to come to after each week, whether it was long, whether it was great, whether I had a good week, a bad week, anything. I could come to youth group and feel totally refreshed, feel like I could have people to talk to, people to come to, people that would listen to me and I could listen to them too. And it's just one of those things where you don't find a community like that in many other places, much less one that you can help build your faith in as well. And how it helped me with my faith, it just gave me a new level of confidence to walk around in my faith with, and a new purpose or feeling of purpose where I could come to God more as someone that he loves and not someone that is trying to gain his love, but he loves me already. And youth group helped me learn that, and that helped me carry a new level of confidence into my life and into every day. And that's why I think this expansion is so important, so that we can bring all these new kids into this and give them that same opportunity that all of us have had.